Hi, my name is Mo. I'm a UX designer with Red Hat. I work on the Fedora project and other upstream open source projects as a designer. And this is part two of a two-part series of tutorial on Inkscape graphics automation. What we've been using that we'll continue to use in this video is creating templates to generate graphics for a conference. Here we have the conference name. You'll recognize this from the last video. We have the name of the talk. We have the presenter name. And then we have some extra items here. And I just want to point out that you can use this technique for any number of things. You can use it for product labels. You could use it for name cards if you were doing name cards at a meeting or a conference. You could use it for personalized birthday cards or awards, certificates, anything that the tool glabels will do. You can do that with this. And actually, you can do this kind of stuff with glabels too, but it's kind of easier to do it with Inkscape, I think. You have a lot more control, I feel, from using this and using the other tool too. And, you know, we actually use this technique. Jess on the Fedora design team used this technique to generate the Flock Nest conference graphics. And that's a conference taking place this week. So if you end up going to that conference, you'll know all those graphics were generated automatically using Inkscape. Okay. So some of the items, I don't think we had the track name. We might have had a track name in the first example. But what I've added here is sort of an accent color behind the track name. That accent color also matches this accent color that is behind a speaker photo. So the new elements we have is sort of a track accent color and a speaker photo. We're also going to change the background color of this gradient. It's a 2-color radial gradient. You could use it with any type of gradient or any kind of fill you might have in the background. This is how I decided to do it. One thing, well, we'll go to the CSV first. So again, this is the same CSV we used last time, but we have some new fields. I think track names, I think we had them last time maybe, but this time we have background color 1, and that aligns, hold on, that aligns to this color here. That's the center of the radial gradient. So if I go in here, you'll see that the color codes match. This one is F1A 2DA, F1A 2DA. Note that in the spreadsheet, you're going to just want to use the first 6 digits of the hex code that are produced by Inkscape. You don't need the 2 alpha digits at the end. You just need the first 6. I figured that out the hard way because things weren't working and I didn't know why. The other thing to know is that you do not need the hash mark. So that's another thing that I learned the hard way. I could not, for the life of me, figure out what was going on. That is what was wrong. The hash was there. Another thing to note, in case it matters to you, in case you think, oh my goodness, do I need to do this or that? You do not need to enclose these strings in quotation marks in the CSV file. You don't need to do that, but you will need to do quotes for individual strings when you configure the template and the extension that runs through the template to generate, well, you'll see, but it's basically letting the system know which colors or which photos to replace. That is in JSON format, I think, so that each item needs to be enclosed in quotes. But the things to remember for your CSV file: no hex or hash characters, no hash characters to, and then no alpha characters for the hex values. So if you're copy pasting from Inkscape, cut the last 2, and no quotation marks. So I think that's everything. Anyway, so yeah, so this is background color 1. And then over here, this outer darker blue is background color 2. You can check my work here, 294172, 294172. The accent color is the most obnoxious, brightest red possible. So that is good old FF0000, FF and 4 zeros. Here, I actually changed that color when I run it because these values are not the template values necessarily. I just kept this, but I'm just letting you know, like this one is background color 1. This one is background color 2. And then this is obnoxious red. And then this is also obnoxious red here. So something to know is if you have a color value like obnoxious red here, FF0000, anywhere in the file that Inkscape has that color value set, it will change to whatever accent color is set here in the CSV for that file, for that row. So, you know, for the pandas are marching talk, because I have accent color set to E59728, which I think is orange offhand. I'm not 100% sure. Let's check. Yeah, it's orange. I remembered. Okay. Then anything that's red, including stuff that you wanted to be obnoxious red, will turn orange. So one trick that you could use, like if I did not want this red to change at all, you could just like go in here for like, I like to use the HSL values, and you can just like tweak that down just a tiny bit. So now instead of FF000, it's FA000. And like visually, the difference, I can't even tell the difference. But then the script will know, like it won't replace this one because the value is not FF000, it's FA000. So just something to note, okay? And I'm going to put that back at obnoxious red. Okay. So this is the first part, is adding these columns to the file. Any colors that you want to replace, you know, add a column for them, figure out what you want the values to be. I picked some pretty wild tropical kind of colors for these just to demonstrate and make the differences really apparent. You might want more subtle color changes. And then for the photo, I have in my directory here, what I did with the photo preparation. Each photo is exactly the same dimensions. And that happens to be 377 by 362. I think I'm not lying. Yeah, see, I did them all using the same rectangle to crop them. I think like in the file, it's actually smaller. I scale it down. And I don't know, how am I checking this? In the file, I have it like 76 by 73. So they're getting scaled down. And what's nice about the tool, I made sure that these source images were all the same size. But when you take it and you scale it down in the template, as long as the ratio is the same on each photo, they'll all get scaled down in the same way. So you don't have to worry about like replacing this with, say, this guy, and then suddenly it's like massive, right? That's not going to happen. It will scale it down properly. So that's really nice to know. I don't know what happens if the ratios between the images are different. I did not try that. I was trying to keep things simple. The other thing here is that I have photo.png is the same as panda.png, I think, although this one has like a little line on it. But you just need something in the template that can be replaced. And when I call this photo.png, you're going to need that when you input it into the plugin. And you can get the name of the file if you right click it. If you're not sure, if you don't know, I don't know why you wouldn't, but you might not. You can right click it and do image properties, and it'll be the value that's under URL. So you don't need to go mucking around. Like if you go into object properties and it'll have like image, blah, blah, blah. You're not using that ID. You're using the actual file name. I guess one other thing that I should let you know, because it was a point of confusion in my trying to get this set up for you, you do not need the full file path for the image. I kept things simple and I kept everything in the same root directory. So you don't need the file path. You just need the image file name, and it will find it as long as it's the same directory. Okay, I think that that's everything you will need to know for constructing the CSV. So then what we got to do is the fun part, which is actually running the plugin. So the plugin is under Export Next Generator. That's the name of the plugin, Next Generator. Okay. Now, this is sort of the same as in the last tutorial. I have that same CSV here. And I have, this is just, I'm using a variable, just the talk name, and you don't need to add the file extension. It will, you know, and if you hover over any of these fields, it will give you helpful guidance along the same lines. But basically, you just use the value that you want the file name to have, and this tool will auto append the file extension on it. So you don't need to do like .png or whatever. And then this is the directory that they're going to get saved in. And just so you see that I'm not cheating, my output directory is empty. So no cheating. And what else? Okay. So now the next, and this was the hardest part, was figuring out this format for you. These are the non-text values. So these are the colors and the photos that go in this field. It's in, I believe this is JSON format. So this is where I was telling you how you need quotes around each string here. Each one of these needs quotes around it. Some other things to know. Again, you don't need the full file path for the photo, and you don't need the hash symbol in the color code, and you don't want the alpha values at the end. You just want the 6 digits, okay? Also, make sure if you're having any issues, and I'm having this resolution bug with this, so it's like, there we go. Okay. Make sure that each of the field names, like background color 1, background color 1, background color 2, background 2, make sure they're spelled exactly the same in both your CSV file and here. Okay. Now, where am I getting each of these values from? So I have 51A, I have 294, I have obnoxious red, FF000, and I have photo.png. So these are what is set in the template. So these are not like any of these from the CSV. This is what you're replacing these values with. So note, there's no like background color too. Like when we did the text replacement, like this conference name, that's a variable that we set. It's the value of the text field. That's a variable that gets replaced. These things, these names, these variable names, I guess you could call them, are not anywhere in the template. What it's looking for is where in the file is this exact color code? Okay, I'm going to replace it. So it's almost like a find and replace option. So this value, F1A 2DA, in this talk on the bottom, the best talk you ever heard, it's going to get replaced with DA51AA. And then it'll go back and it'll look, okay, in the template, where's 294172? Okay, I'm going to replace that for the best talk you ever heard with E1767C. So you see how it works. So the variable names are not baked into the template. The mapping between the variable name and the color value is what you're going to copy paste into this field using this JSON format. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to copy that in and paste it. Okay, that should be everything I need. I'm going to export it in PNG format. I'll do 300 DPI. All right, let's give it a go and see what happens. There it goes. And the preview or the thumbnailer is kind of slow on these ones. Hopefully they came out okay. There we go. Okay, so here's the first one, Bamboo Fest 2022. Bamboo tastes better with Fedora. And here's our speaker, Mr. Panda. And now you can see how this has the accent color of purple. And then here in the background, background color 1 is like a purple, background color 2 is like this obnoxious blue. And then here we have pink to orange. We have the accent color is actually Fedora magenta. And yeah, so you can see the images got replaced. Something, again, I will emphasize, I brought this up in the last video. You are not stuck with a bitmap format. You can actually save these out as SVG, PDF, PS, EPS. So if I did this as SVG and I hit apply, you're going to watch them come out again. It might be helpful, you know, if you're working with PNG to also save it out as SVG, just in case you have some last minute change. You don't want to run the whole script and everything. You know, somebody decided to change the name of their talk an hour before their talk or something like that. Okay, you can go in the SVG and easily update it. And then again, I will note, I'm using GNOME on Fedora. I think librsvg is used for the thumbnailer, and I think that's a different SVG renderer than Inkscape uses. So the preview, the thumbnail preview is going to look funky, but when you open it up in Inkscape, it will be just fine because it's just a different SVG renderer. See, it looks fine. So don't fret too much about the SVG thumbnails. Anyway, I think that is everything. If you have any questions, you can email me at duffy@redhat.com. You can come to the Fedora design team's channel on, we have a matrix server at fedora.im or chat.fedoraproject.org. Or you can add comments to this video wherever you see it posted. And generally YouTube comments are a dumpster fire and I don't tend to read them. But if this is on the Linux Rocks PeerTube, I'll take a look. So hope you have a lot of fun making awesome automated Inkscape graphics. Bye.